I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
So here we go. We're going to do the match review of Norwich City Premier League match over at Carrow Road. Scoreline, Norwich 2, Chelsea 3. Obviously, Tammy with the brace, Mount in between those. Cantwell and Pukki. Obviously, Pukki was going to score. Ridiculous. But Naz, kind of the big headline coming into this pre-match even as the lineup was announced at Opta Joe. I'm pretty sure you quote tweeted this, said 21. This is the first time two English players aged 21 or under have scored in a Premier League match for Chelsea since the 22nd of August 1992 when Eddie Newton, familiar name, and Graham Stewart scored for Sheffield Wednesday, throwback. And then also Opta Joe talking about how this is the youngest team to line up for Chelsea since, and there's a lot of discrepancy, so you fill in the actual year.
It's was it 1994? I think it was.
I think,
yeah, 1994. But it changed because when Pedro left the team, it was already the youngest team for a certain amount of years, and it went down to 1994 when Pedro came out. And Barkley's younger than Pedro, obviously, so the average age went down. And yeah, wow, it was a very young team, and Chelsea's not the team to play youth very much. So this is why this Lampard era. I know he's kind of frustrated about the youth question always getting brought up, but it is kind of a new thing for Chelsea, and it is a kind of a special period. It's something different that Chelsea fans have not got used to in the Abramovich era.
Understandably so. I mean, we all know, Nick, JT. I mean, that's it. That is our last person to break through from the academy to the first team. It's a rare occurrence, you could say.
How do you feel if you're Pedro with that stat, by the way? Like, how old do you feel? Like, oh, cool, I'm only 32 or 33, but let's put a 25-year-old Barkley in there and just watch that number go boo.
Yeah, he's won everything. I think he's okay.
He's probably just fine. Yeah, you're right. No, it's really exciting. I mean, obviously Mount has been a star this year. Tammy stepping up today. There's just a lot to like, and I've had friends who support other teams, notably some red teams up in the Northwest, who are like, hate Chelsea obviously, but love the spirit. There's a lot to like about this Chelsea team. I think, Dan, it's a really interesting time because usually we're the team that everyone loves to hate, but I think there's a lot to like about this squad right now.
Well, you think about if Mount gets called up to the England side, to the, not the U21s, but if gets called up to the first team, if Tammy ends up getting there eventually, at this point, you're going to see potentially Chelsea youth players, not just Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who we probably should not be calling youth player anymore, as a part of the first team for England. And that's something that we have not put a lot of great talent in previously, or the past couple seasons now. So I think that's also a part of the impact too, is that people are seeing these young England, prospects who are going to get this opportunity. And I think that's kind of helping with that endearing factor to this side.
Yeah, because, what does it mean to be a Chelsea youth player? You kind of didn't believe your chance. You could be as good as somebody like Loftus-Cheek. He didn't get a chance. He didn't get enough of a chance. He's somebody who's been overlooked. And maybe you'd think Mason Mount would be overlooked. Hudson-Odoi would be overlooked. Maybe Tammy Abraham would be overlooked and never get his chance. Like, a lot of people didn't believe some of these guys would ever play for Chelsea, but a kind of perfect storm of a transfer ban and a Frank Lampard era with the coaching staff who believe in youth as well. Jody Morris was celebrating on the pitch in front of the fans. It was beautiful. Joe Edwards in the coaching staff, Eddie Newton, who you mentioned, Chelsea through and through, all these guys. And they want to see local players make it. And this sort of brilliant group of youngsters Chelsea has now, they've had in the past. Jeremy Boga was brilliant. Charlie Masonda was brilliant. Lewis Baker was brilliant as well. But a lot of their talents have been squandered for years. They could have been this group, but to get a chance at Chelsea means you'll become an even better player. Mason Mount, by wearing this shirt, it makes him grow as a player, so confident. I mean, Frank Lampard wants him to believe that he is a Chelsea player. That's what he's trying to. He said that to him this week. He wanted him to feel like a Chelsea player. He asked him that question, and that's the important thing. Abraham, did we think he could do that kind of performance? We never knew, but somebody had to give him a chance so we could kind of find out. And what a performance! Fantastic.
Well, it's the old trope. If you've listened to Men in Blazers for any amount of time, Roger Bennett, who is an Englishman who's now become an American, said, when he would watch Americans who are, not as talented as like the English teams that would go and play internationally, put on the American shirt, they grew as players. They adopted like as much of a steel mentality as they could, and they just became the best versions of themselves. And he's like, when I would watch the English players, sometimes that would have the opposite effect. It wouldn't be as much of a growth opportunity. And so I think what you just mentioned is actually a really interesting point, that maybe Tammy, Mount, Callum, all these guys are feeling like superheroes because they finally like crossed a threshold that they didn't think was available to them. And if that's the case, I mean, maybe it's a plus 10% type of thing, Brandon, where you have the ability to put on a shirt and be 10% better than you ever thought you could be.
What's kind of interesting, so I think it was Chelsea Youth who retweeted an interview that Jody Morris did last season while at Derby. It's saying a lot of Chelsea managers have absolutely overlooked the youth academy, and I didn't realize this at the time. He called out Maurizio Sarri for not going to these UEFA youth matches. He's not going to the U19, the U18. He's literally across the street in his office, and they said that when Ranieri was here, he gave JT a chance because he went and watched him. He goes, you can't know how good these players are if you don't go watch them in person. He's like, there's just something about it. Nothing else can replace it. And so you said Jody's here. He's going to be the biggest advocate for these guys. And then another one, which I thought was interesting, it was actually a quote from Tony Mount, Mason's dad, saying that he was telling Mason to leave Chelsea. He goes, there's no chance for young players to break through at this club. Like, look at all the people in front of you. And Mason looked at me and goes, I'm going to be the first one. And now you're like, damn, he's actually going to do it. It looks like that is some swagger. And that's really obviously exciting for Mason.